Yo people, so I thought I would talk a bit about spirituality. No mind. Eckhart Tolle is a teacher that comes to mind that's very relevant to this topic. Buddhism, enlightenment, awareness, observation, being the witness, the Ching, or the Tao, or the Book of the Way. Yeah, so over the past 3 days, what happened basically is I had a really bad depression spout, as I do. It's not that uncommon for me, and I hope to not be defined by this for my whole life, and I don't think this will be the case, especially with this new kind of revelation I've had. And I'll make a more in-depth video about it in the future, I guess, but I thought I'd just speak about it here on the second channel quick time because it's important. So this can definitely help if you've got mental problems like depression, or if you think that you've been a victim to overthinking, and just in general, you can find so much peace through this method. So I was very sad for a while recently, and I was actually listening to some Eckhart Tolle teachings afterward, and he kind of said how potentially this depression and suffering can actually mobilize you to have this evolution. So yeah, I was quite sad for a long time, and it's when all hope is lost somewhat. I just didn't know where to turn, because it was just everything just felt like it was crashing around me. And this was just for many reasons. I was fearful that I wouldn't succeed in many things. I wanted to pursue things in this life, but I don't really know what steps to take. I just felt quite lost. Just general negative thoughts about the way that my life has been going, and just random stuff. So yeah, it just felt hopeless. I get to a point where it's you just don't know what to do, because it's you're so discontent that that you don't know what to pursue. So I had this idea for a while in the midst of this, alright, what if I just drop everything? Just completely stand away from the internet, just turn all of that off. And I thought, what if I just be aware all day? And what that means is just I was familiar with Eckhart Tolle's teachings, and this is just throughout the day, one of his quotes, people they say meditation's not for me, or they haven't got time to meditate. But you can meditate just by if you've got enough time to breathe, you've got enough time to meditate. So you just watched that breath in depth, and you don't think about it, you just feel the breath fully. You don't think, oh, I'm taking a conscious breath. You just feel it, and even just then it creates this spaciousness immediately. But I was thinking oh, what if I just do this, oh fuck it, I'll just drop everything and just do some conscious breathing all day, every day, as much as I can, just focus on the rising and the falling of the breath. And because I didn't know where to turn, I was so discontent and felt so shit with everything. I thought, well, I can at least do that, and maybe So I didn't even like really pursue it the way that I just said. Like I didn't get rid of social media or nothing. I just like way quicker than I anticipated. I reached this like peace just by like residing in presence of the breath and observing sensory perception. Very quickly, I embodied some deep peace, and it was silence of the mind. And this is why they say, like, this rapper called Spectrum has a lyric. He goes, "They say a lot of words about the truth, but how's that? Silence is the answer, and you can't talk about that." And you do really feel the silence, quote unquote, but like you can still hear stuff, but there's like this space quality within it. So yeah, while I'm at work and I'm doing deliveries like on this push bike, that's what I do as my job. I'm just focusing. Like I've turned off the podcast, I've turned off the music, and I'm just breathing and feeling that fully. When I think, eventually I realise that I'm thinking, and I just kind of watch it. And I just look around, and I just listen to the world, and I just observe the world, and I just look, and I see the houses and the trees and the birds and the road and the grass, and I hear the cars and the wind, and I feel my breath and my heartbeat. And in this, like, it's like a whole different mode of being, where the mind is just silenced because you're just being. And that's what Eckhart said in one thing. Like, someone was trying to seek enlightenment, like, and he was just like, "Can you say I am? Like, can you feel that you are right now?" He was like, "That's it. Just bask in I am." But like, it's got to the point where this morning I had like a really good morning, and all I done was walk to the shop. I walk to the shop nearly every day, but this time I wasn't thinking. I was watching the world, and it was stunning. And I was excited before I left the house because I knew, because the 2 days before this, I've been doing this for about 3 days now, and I'd done it before. I made a video called "My Identity Has Dissolved," and this happened when I decided to reside in the Tao, or in the flow. And the Tao, or the Tao Te Ching, I have a book of it over there actually, I'll get it in a sec. Like, the Tao Te Ching, or the flow, or the Book of the Ways, like, yeah, there's just a flow to reality, and when you reside in that and stop trying to figure it out, like. But yeah, so like before I put my shoes on this morning to go to the shop, I was like, yes, let's go, because like I'm walking around in the world and I'm just watching stuff. Like, you see dogs and you see people and you see the sky, and it's like, when you're thinking like really deeply, you actually don't see it. And like, I know that, like, because I've done a lot of psychedelics in the past, magic mushrooms especially, and those, like, well, I guess it depends, but like, I remember this one experience like well over a year ago, where like I was thinking about how everything isn't perfect, like, oh, how the day could have been better, how the trip could have been better. I was walking outside, and then as soon as I decided to reside in the present moment, everything like lit up and became complete. But it's like the mind, when it's always trying to figure shit out, it's like earlier today when I was walking to the shop, I was so in the presence. I was just smiling, like looking at the sun and the rain and the trees and the path. And then I was like, I could go into the mind, and then I was thinking about what's in the mind, and then it was like these, like, what's in my mind these days, like contemplations about what I'm gonna do with my life, and like, this is important stuff, don't get me wrong, but like, when it comes from a place of being so discontent, just to be able to fucking get a space of breath is so like important, because you just feel like you're on the verge half of the time. So like, yeah, I was like, fuck that, why would I think about like all this shit when I can like somewhat, it's like it's almost like a spiritual bypass. Is like, instead of like contemplating about all this bullshit that's in the mind that just drags you down, you just breathe and just feel the breath. And there's something about that, it's just so amazing. And it's like, I found this like liberation. It's like you're just so in your senses, and it's important. So I'll get the book of the way in a second, but I was just writing a journal, and I'll show you. So excuse my handwriting, but this is about what I was just talking about here. So I'll read this. Recently, I have found deep peace in consciousness, awareness, and spirituality. Embodying Eckhart's teachings is fundamental to my well-being. It feels so good and right to just be in silence and the flow of the Tao. In the Tao, I find silence and peace. This shift came about in the midst of deep hurt and depression. I thought, if all is hopeless, I can at least just breathe all day. Much sooner than I anticipated, I found peace. This is an important shift as I feel at peace, at home. I feel I'm myself, present, whole, true, connected. Connection with truth feels so pure and amazing. And right, I should have written. Oh, and necessary, I did right. This shall keep me grounded. This is what I was seeking. So yeah, I was seeking grounding for a while, as I became quite ungrounded with like psychedelic abuse. So here we've got the Tao Te Ching. Shout out to KT, or KT, sorry, but he said Kate. Well, who cares? This book is like my favorite book ever. Some super spiritual girl gifted this to me, so I'll find some good parts of this and we'll read it together. So the Tao is on about like just the flow of reality, the way of things. The Tao is called the Great Mother, empty yet inexhaustible. It gives birth to infinite worlds. It is always present within you. You can use it any way you want. The Tao is infinite, eternal. Why is it eternal? It was never born, thus it can never die. Why is it infinite? It has no desires for itself, thus it is present for all beings. The Master stays behind, that is why she is ahead. She is detached from all things, that is why she is one with them. Because she has let go of herself, she is perfectly fulfilled. So, the Master stays behind, that is why she's ahead, is you stay behind like purely as the witness. So you stay behind like all of the form in a sense. I mean, it's no good even trying to like go over the text again and trying to like reiterate it in my own ways, but I guess I can try a bit. Like, she is detached from all things, that's why she is one with them. Yeah, it's to be detached from everything is to truly be one with the flow, and to be of your true nature, to embody the truth of impermanence. Let go of herself, thus she is perfectly fulfilled. This is like where I found the peace that I'm speaking about, is like just like letting go of ideas of you needing to be anything more than you are in this present moment. And I know that obviously like you can be a very aspirational person, and those are still valid, but when it gets to a point where it's causing you so much suffering, like I made a video in the past on my main channel called Personal Development is Ruining Your Life, taking it too seriously and it really can cause a lot of pain and disruption if you just put this pressure on yourself to develop, and it's all good, but if you're really struggling, there's another way, which is to let go. And it's not to say that you have to do that permanently, but it can also actually be very practical to your ultimate goal of being aspiration, like of reaching your goals, because if you don't ever find this central place of peace within yourself, then it might lead to more destruction. So it could be kind of counterintuitive. This is one of my favorite texts of all time, and it also has these cute, like these pretty little images that kind of represent the Tao somewhat. But yeah, this is super wise, and I love this. I posted this on my Instagram a while ago. If you want to become whole, let yourself be partial. If you want to become straight, let yourself be crooked. If you want to become full, let yourself be empty. If you want to be reborn, let yourself die. If you want to be given everything, give everything up. The Master, by residing in the Tao, sets an example for all beings. Because he doesn't display himself, people can see his light. Because he has nothing to prove, people can trust his words. Because he doesn't know who he is, people recognize themselves in him. Because he has no goal in mind, everything he does succeeds. When the ancient masters said, "If you want to be given everything, give everything up," they weren't using empty phrases. Only in being lived by the Tao can you be truly yourself. If you want to be given everything, give everything up. Oh, I'm running out of storage. Sorry. I love you. Goodbye.